In a cacophony of barking and a jumble of cages tucked away in a corner of Lagos, veterinarian Mark Ofua is doing the rounds at the St. Mark's Animal Hospital and Shelter, a temporary home for lost souls of the animal kingdom.
This guy, he was abandoned because he's too old, he doesn't see properly. Come now, come.
But it's not just domestic animals offered sanctuary here. Increasingly, Ofua finds himself rescuing wild animals, including one of the world's most endangered, the pangolin.
So yeah, this is Juba, my baby. So since the pangolin is armored like a gladiator, we named him Juba.
That's a character in the movie Gladiator. Juba is a white-bellied tree pangolin native to Nigeria, but his chainmail coat wouldn't be enough to protect him from an illegal wildlife trade that sees pangolin meat sold as a delicacy in Asian markets and their scales for alleged medicinal cures. Of 8 different pangolin species, all are either vulnerable or critically endangered.
You know, when they get these animals, they just bunch them up in bags and all that, no care, nothing.
Ofua's aim is first to heal and then release the animals he comes across. He'll actually buy pangolins if he sees them for sale in bushmeat markets. That's where he found Juba.
Buying these animals off them is wrong because it kind of promotes the trade. But imagine if Juba was not rescued.
Almost impossible witnessing scenes like this.
I actually heard him squeak. This guy is a naughty boy.
Nigeria has become a major hub for the illicit trade in pangolin. In 2018, nearly 60% of pangolin scales seized globally came from Nigeria, up from 20% in 2015.
Absolutely ridiculous. That is one of the reasons why I am so concerned.
Professor Olajumoke More-Nikaji heads the Pangolin Conservation Guild of Nigeria. She says the spotlight on zoonotic diseases and early speculation over whether trafficked pangolins might have had a role in COVID-19 jumping to humans could help them survive.
We now know that most likely it is not from the pangolin, it might be from the bats or whatever. But we all know from history that there are instances we have had diseases jump from wildlife to man.
In February, in the wake of the Wuhan coronavirus crisis, China banned the consumption and trading of wildlife. Conservationists hope it will become permanent. And last week, Beijing said pangolin scales will no longer be approved for use in traditional medicines. Karukiwa Sabunya, CEO of the African Wildlife Foundation, calls it a huge step.
We are so glad that this is happening, and we are not going to relent. We would like to see this also happening with rhino horns.
A surprising ray of hope for the pangolin, maybe, but how is the rest of Africa's wildlife faring in global lockdown? Kruger National Park in South Africa has reported a significant decline in rhino poaching since its lockdown began in April. It has a well-equipped anti-poaching unit, including helicopters and a canine team. But Sabunya says if the figures are correct, Kruger is an outlier compared to other national parks in Africa.
The biggest worry is a spike in poaching simply because the tourism industry collapsed overnight and funding went to zero for conservation.
Tourism, he says, accounts for more than 80% of funding for Africa's national parks. With safari parks, both private and public, now shuttered, the outlook is bleak.
Hi, Margaret, how are you?
Mark Brightman heads the anti-poaching unit at Bumi Hills, along Lake Kariba in Zimbabwe, South Africa's neighbor. We first met the team in 2017 for a story on elephant poaching.
We still have the criminal syndicates that are operating. They haven't shut down at all. In fact, they're taking advantage of the situation.
Brightman says his rangers are still operating as a deterrent for now. But 2 elephants were recently poached just outside their area, and Zimbabweans are feeling the pain of the lockdown.
We get a lot of people unemployed now. They're going to have to feed their families, and the way of doing that is to snare bushmeat trade. And we've already seen quite a large rise in that.
Back in Lagos, it's feeding time at the sanctuary. Some baby civets and, of course, Juba, anxious for his turn, and Dr. Afua, happy to oblige, clearly compromised.
I pray every day for grace to be able to let him go when it's time. Anytime from now, he should be released. I just want to make sure he's able to fend for himself properly.
Like other African conservationists, he's profoundly conscious of a critical moment in relations between nature and humankind.
I try to let people see the connection between us and these animals, that conservation is not something we should do for fun or for pleasure or for sentiments. It's something we actually need to do deliberately to save mankind.
But he also believes it could go either way. Margaret Evans, CBC News, London.